two-step equations now. Alright, so we're just going to do some equations that require two operations to be able to complete to solve for the variable. So the two steps that we are going to do, the first step is add or subtract depending on what the inverse operation is. And then the second step is to multiply or divide depending once again on the inverse operation. However, there is a beware down here. This flips, the steps will flip if the add or subtract is inside of a fraction. That's one of the last examples I'll go over, but just do know that this step 1 is add, subtract, step 2 multiply, divide is not in cement. There is a difference if the add or subtract ever is inside of a fraction. So let's look at some examples and see how to apply this. Okay, so we have 2 times what number plus 3 equals 15. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, since there's the add or subtract isn't inside of a fraction or anything, so the first thing we're going to do is add or subtract. Well, we have a plus 3 here, so what's the inverse of a plus 3? Well, that would be a minus 3. Remember, we have our separation here, so we're going to minus 3 here. These cancel out, and my 2x drops down, equals drops down, and 15 minus 3 is 12. Okay, so there's the first step done. Alright, now let's look at the second step. Multiply or divide. Well, we have 2 times what number equals 12, so we have a multiplication. What's the inverse of multiplication? That would be division. So we're going to divide both sides by 2, and looks like the x will drop out, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So let's see, 2 times 6 is 12, 12 plus 3 is 15. So we did that correct. We add or subtracted, then we multiplied or divided. Okay, let's try this one down here. Negative 8 plus x divided by 9 equals 42. The addition sign right here is not in a fraction. Therefore, we're going to do our regular first and second steps. So add or subtract. Here we have a negative 8. The inverse is adding an 8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. That crosses out. And we're left with 50 equals x divided by 9. Alright, x divided by 9. What's the inverse of divide? That would be multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 9, and that cancels out. So my x drops down, and 9 times 50 would be 450 for my final answer. Alright, let's try a couple more. X divided by 3 minus 8 equals 12. So this subtraction sign is not inside of a fraction, so let's go ahead and add or subtract first. So what's the inverse of subtracting an 8? That would be adding an 8. So let's add an 8 to both sides. The x divided by 3 drops down. These two cancel out. Oh, my 3 did not turn out very well. 12 plus 8 is 20. Okay, now we have x divided by 3 equals 20. What's the inverse of 3? That would be timesing by 3. So we times both sides by 3. The x drops down, and 20 times 3 is 60. Okay, let's do it again. 42 equals negative 7 plus 7x. Okay, this addition right here is not in a fraction, so we're just going to do our regular 2 steps. So first, add or subtract. Well, we have a negative 7. The inverse of a negative 7 is a positive 7. So we're going to do that on both sides. 42 plus 7 is 49. The plus 7 and negative 7 canceled out. And bring down my 7x. Okay, so this is 7 times x. So we get rid of multiplication by dividing, and they disappear. Well, they don't disappear. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So we get 1x, but we don't need to write down the 1. And 49 divided by 7 is 7. And there is my answer. Okay, let's do these ones kind of quickly so this video isn't too long. Okay, the subtraction's not in any fractions. We're going to add 8 to both sides. Bring down, these cancel, so bring down your negative 4x. 24 plus 8 is 32. Next step would be to divide, since this is a multiplication. Divide both sides by negative 4, since there's a negative out there. We get x equals negative 8. Alright, hopefully these are making sense. If not, you can pause the video and go back. Okay, the subtraction sign is not in a fraction. I know there's kind of a fraction division thing looking here, but the subtraction is not in it. So, oops, this isn't supposed to be here. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to minus 8 on both sides first. And that will disappear, and we get 64 equals negative, or subtract x over 9. Okay, so I want to get rid of this negative right now along with this, so I don't have to do another step. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply both sides by a negative 9. Because what's going to happen is my 9s are going to cross out, and a negative times a negative is a positive, so my negatives cross out as well. And we're going to turn this times by a negative 9 as well over here. And let's go ahead and figure out what is negative 9 times 64. That would be negative 576 equals x. Alright, let's do one more example, this time showing you what it's going to look like if we have to flip the steps. So notice, you see how this x plus 3, so the plus sign is involved with the fraction or the division. That means I can't minus 3. The 3, this plus 3 is buried inside. We can't get there. We have to break it out of this division first. So these two steps are actually going to flip in this case. Okay, so basically we're going to multiply both sides by whatever is being divided. In this case, we're being divided by 3. So we're going to times both sides by 3. And they cancel out, and now my x plus 3 is free. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, so I did the multiplier divide first this time. And now I need to do the add or subtract. In this case, there's an x plus 3. The inverse is subtract 3. And we get x equals 15. So there's an example of when those two steps would flip. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will be happy to help.